Vinicius Jr. made Tebas to apologize. So ESPN had a really great discussion on this today. So we're going to react on this.
It has, of course, been quite a few days for La Liga and their president, Javier Tebas. Now, remember, after the Valencia match, we saw Vinicius Jr. take to social media and talk about Spain being racist. Javier Tebas responded on Twitter saying, before you criticise and insult La Liga, you need to inform yourself well, Vinny Jr. Don't let yourself be manipulated.
So that was the response Tebas has given after Vinicius' tweet. Not only that was wrong to say at that time, but also he also tried to downplay racism against Vinicius. And as a result, social media all over the world and all Real Madrid fans protested. As a result, he's back. And let's see what he said.
Obviously, there is a massive outcry on that, as opposed to Javier Tebas and La Liga taking responsibility. Somehow he's trying to put the blame at Vinicius Jr.'s door. Well, then, regarding that message, he responded today saying, I think that the message and the intention I had was not understood by a significant number of people. I do not want to attack Vinicius, but if most people understood it that way, I need to apologise. It was not my intention. I expressed myself badly.
Okay, first of all, the apology was not the perfect. It's not the best apology, in my opinion. If you see the language, it's typical apology. It was not my intention. If I hurt some people, that was not my intention. That's what people say, right? Most of the time when they're the wrong side. However, the victory is here. At least he did apologize, because this is not what I expected. Because Tebas is a very self-centered person. He's very narcissistic. He does what he wants to do. Regardless that he apologized, I think that's a small victory for us.
What a rubbish apology.
It was. Listen, there's more to it, but you're right. It did sound as though any apology when you have to say, I'm sorry that you misinterpreted, that's, you're barking on the wrong tree straight away. So Tebas, straight for me, has again failed. At least it's better than what we saw immediately after the game. So there's that positive you can offer Tebas, but still, I think his initial response, I described on the day as absolutely tone deaf. This apology, I feel a little bit half-hearted, not overly sincere. Quite clearly, I think trying to apportion some of the blame to others when I don't see how else you could have interpreted his words on Sunday. But like everything else, I guess you have to celebrate the little movements that we've witnessed, certainly from Tebas, as far as the league and the punishments go. That is hugely significant, and you take every progress as welcomed.
I do agree with Shaka that the apology did not seem sincere. One change I would like to see from Tebas in the future, whenever Vinicius or any other player, when they face those racism, he needs to be the first person to protest and should say that he will take a strong action, whatever is possible.
Do you feel if the outcry wasn't as extreme as it has been over the last couple of days, we wouldn't have heard this from Tebas?
I think that Javier Tebas' team, his senior advisors, his communications team have probably had a word and said, look, whether you intended it that way or not, this is how it looked. It didn't look good. This kind of almost aggressive tone that he took on in this social media back and forth on Twitter with Vinicius. And they would have said to him, look, I think you need to address this and you need to apologize. And whether it was intended that way or not, that's how it came across. And the tone was wrong and it was misjudged. I think there's an acceptance of that, and like as I've said, Tebas, this is sort of, he is a sort of a combative character. This is the tone that he often takes in all sorts of issues. But the fact was that on this occasion, it was the wrong tone. This wasn't the time, and it certainly wasn't directed in the right way, being aimed at Vinicius Jr., who was the victim here. But I guess it's welcome that he's recognised that, and speaking to ESPN, he's come out and said, look, that wasn't my intention. Yes, I understand that I'm sorry for any offence caused. It can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, rather than apologising for kind of the root of the matter. But I guess it's something. And overall, I think that we have to look at what's happened over the last few days in terms of the response here as having been steps in the right direction.
Also, regarding this situation, we saw a small victory. As you have already seen from social media, that we have seen a small section of Valencia Stadium was banned. They have been fined 45,000. Again, this is not strong measurement at all. However, this is the first step. In my opinion, the measurement should be way stronger than what we saw. The fine should be in millions, not in thousands. On the other hand, why just one section of the stadium is banned? Why not the full stadium? If they would ban the full stadium, okay, next we have 3 or 4 matches left, but there will be no audience. Then they would be more cautious about making those gestures. So who is responsible for this action? Even this is not a big action, small action. The first person who is responsible for making this action is Vinicius Jr. himself. He's the first person to protest alongside social media. And I also have to mention ESPN FC itself. They also did not stop covering this issue. Of course, Real Madrid fans all over the world and also media from all over the world and Brazil itself are responsible for this change. If you want to make a change, this is how you have to act. You have to be united.
And that's interesting, Alex, because you've lived in Spain for a number of years and we've seen incidents of this ilk kind of swept under the carpet. You know, no one really wants to address it. No one wants to tackle this. Are you surprised how much coverage this has had within Spain and then beyond, and this, as you said, unprecedented action from La Liga?
I think what we've seen here is kind of a number of factors come together in a bit of a perfect storm. Firstly, it's because it's Vinicius Jr. Now, of course, that shouldn't be the case. This is a serious issue, whichever player is involved. But the fact that it's Vinicius, the fact that this is the guy who's the biggest star in La Liga and on the way to becoming one of the best players in the world, maybe even the best player in the world, that gives it an additional dimension. The fact that it's happened time and time again, and it's kept happening, and credit to Vinicius, he's called out in the past, he's brought attention to it. Maybe this time it was more visible and it couldn't be ignored because of the way that it happened, because it was a kind of a direct confrontation almost between Vinicius and those fans in the crowds at Mestalla.
Given La Liga lost superstars like Ronaldo and Messi, he's a new superstar who is a new face of La Liga. So Tebas should have saved him. Tebas should have taken any step that's possible to save him from racism. Also, even though he's kind of villain in Spain in most of the rival team of Real Madrid, a lot of football fans really respect and appreciate his football. For example, Barca fans like him. If you look at English media or English football, I have seen most English football fans love him. They like his football. They think he's one of the best winger in the world, which he is in my opinion. There's nothing he does on the pitch should deserve those racism, because what he does, that's part of football. He tries to dribble, that's normal. He's a little bit confrontational, that's normal if you play football.
How much, Alex, do you feel this could be a watershed moment in La Liga tackling racism?
In my opinion, this is the first time I saw some real action. Even if it's not huge, but some action at least.
It's hard to say, isn't it? And really, we need a bit of perspective to be able to assess that. You don't want to be kind of overly optimistic and go ahead and say, yes, this is the turning point. This is when things start to change. But at the same time, I think we have to say that this does feel different. The reaction this time does feel new. It does feel like the message is starting to get through here in Spain. I think we saw that today in some of the media coverage. Now, some of the media coverage here in Spain has been really quite frustrating. But there have been some signs. I mean, the front page of Marca, which is the biggest sports newspaper in the country, I think it was this morning. Front page, and the wording there on the headline was, "It's not enough not to be racist. We have to be anti-racist." We have to be proactive in dealing with racism. When you're seeing that kind of message in the mainstream sports media here in Spain, look, that might not sound like a particularly radical message in the States, for example, but here in Spain, I think that is progress. So like I say, we'll need a little bit of perspective to be able to tell, I think, how far this goes and whether these changes are going to continue and are going to take root, and we're going to see kind of long-term change in Spanish football, and of course then you've got Spanish society more widely. But this time I think it's fair to say that it does feel different.
So if we want to eradicate racism from Spanish football, who has to take the most responsibility, who has to take more action, is the media itself. Somehow Spanish media don't take action. They put the blame on Vinicius rather, not the people who are conducting this racism. I think Spanish media has to wake up and have to realize that they are part of this problem. Anyway, let me know what you think about this whole saga. Do you think this punishment is good enough, or do you think they should take more strong, strict measurement against racism?